do me a favor as you guys are joining me here. Alex, nice to see you. Find the chat area right now on your little Zoom window there. Don, hello. And do me a favor, chat in for me right now. I want to hear two things if you'd be willing to share. What do you currently run your business on? And where are you from? So I'm Bob Stewart. I work for Brivity. So we're going to talk today about some tactics that you can deploy, tactics you can deploy in Brivity. If Ann or Rex or Scott, you guys use something else today in your business, there's a good chance that your something has tools of this nature. Awesome, Scott. Welcome from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, KV Core. It's been a minute since I've had my hands on KV Core, but I'm going to guess that a number of these things are things you can do. Don, Marysville, you're 30 minutes north of me. I'm in Kenmore, Washington right now. Welcome, Don. Brivity. Okay, so we're definitely going to give you a few kind of tactics, ideas, things that you'll be able to run with here and maybe turn right back around and deploy today into your database. All right, the rest of you guys are playing secret agent. You don't want to tell me where you're from. You don't want to tell me what you use. That's okay. I'm just, hey, there we go. Tasha, Command in Boston, Massachusetts. All right. I was just out of Boston not too long ago. Beautiful area of our country, kind of the founding area of our country. I think everything started in Boston, didn't it? I don't know. At least that's what my history teachers told me. Okay. I wasn't very good in school. Let's dive in here. We're going to talk some tactics to find your next 10 deals. I don't know. You could use these tactics to find more than 10. These are tactics you could probably deploy for a really long time. Before we do that, though, I've got a little surprise for you. I know you didn't show up here looking for a math lesson, but I want to do a little math lesson, if you guys don't mind. So everybody pull your phone out. And I know half of you guys are on your phone right now. You're like half listening to me. You're like checking your Facebook or your Instagram or your TikTok or whatever. Do me a favor though, pull your phone out and go to your calculator. And we're gonna do a little bit of math. Now, real quick before we get into the math, are you guys feeling this? Like, are you guys in your market? And I know our founder here at Brivity, Ben Kinney, he partners with a bunch of real estate teams around the country, about 300 and some odd teams that we partner with. And I get a chance to meet with these teams like every single day. We're diving into their databases and there is like an uptick in activity out there. We're seeing an uptick in activity on our websites. We're seeing an uptick in activity on our market reports. And Don, there, you guys can read the numbers on there. It looks like about a 19% surge in the number of homes for sale compared to last year. Mortgage applications have spiked a little bit here recently. There's some, this is information that was shared with us, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 days ago from our mortgage partners at Envoy Mortgage. There's some signs in the market right now. And again, we're seeing it internally that things are heating up. And obviously we had this big bomb dropped into the industry on Friday, but you guys are all professionals. We're going to get through that change. Before we go in and talk about some tactics you guys can deploy to go and find some extra deals this year, hopefully this month, right? Next month. I want to talk for a second about how many deals live in your database. And I get a chance to partner with a lot of teams. I talk to 3 or 4 or 5 high producing, we're talking 200, 300, 400 transactions a year type teams every single day. And most real estate teams are extracting or agents individually as well. This holds true here too. Extracting a fraction of the potential business that lives in your database. And one of the biggest kind of unforced errors, the largest expenses, like when we've partnered with these 300 teams over the last few years, as we come in and we start to analyze their business, one of their biggest expenses is leads. We have teams spending 30, 40, 50. We've run into a team 50% of their gross commission income goes back out the door on leads. Now, we have teams spending 10% of their gross commission income on leads that are still generating too many leads or really undercapitalizing what they have today living in their database. So I want to do some quick math with you guys. If nothing else, Ann, Gil, Glenn, I want you guys to walk out of here having a really solid understanding. Okay, this is the potential of the database I have today if I never added another lead to it. Okay, how much business is your database? So get your calculator ready. Did you know, by the way, if you turn your calculator sideways, it turns into one of those fancy, like scientific calculators? I don't even know what half the buttons mean, but it's cool. All right, how many contacts are in your database? How many contacts are in your database? I'm gonna do 2,000. I've got 2,000 people in my database. So everybody, do me, Tasia, check your command. Don, check your Brivity. Scott, check your KV core. How many contacts do you have in there? Total number of contacts sitting in my database. I'm just going to act like I have 2,000. The next thing that I need you to figure out, what's the home ownership rate in your primary county? Now, that's a really, if you wanted to figure that out really easily, you just come right here to Google and just do home ownership rate. I was doing this yesterday for a team you can see in Riverside County, California. Their home ownership rate is 68.1%. 68.1% in Riverside County. So if you're in Riverside, I just did it for you. Marysville, what's that? That's Snohomish County, right? So I'll do hers. Snohomish County, Washington. What's that home ownership rate? It is 68.6%. That means you have 100 houses there in your area. You have 100 people in your database. 68.6% of them statistically own a home. If you're like, I don't know, I don't even have Google, whatever, what's this guy talking about? Just use 65%. That's a pretty standard kind of average around the country. Okay, you have a home ownership rate. We all have one. What I want you to do is multiply how many people you have in that database times your home ownership rate. So if I had 2,000 people in my database and I did a 65% home ownership rate, I'm going to multiply 2,000 times 0.65. A little bit of math. I know you didn't wake up for math today. You guys are in real estate. Math kind of comes with the game. Where I have 1,300 homeowners that live in my database. Okay, 1,300 homeowners. Now, I got to figure out how often they move, and I don't have to figure it out. NAR figured it out for us. The national average says people that own a home move on average every 13 years. Every 13 years. So in 2024, a 13th of them will move. Now, 2024 might be a little bit different. It might be a little bit lower than it might be 10, 15, 20% less than normal. Let's just deal with in a normal year. We can make an adjustment at the very end for it. This won't be a normal year. So I got 1,300 homeowners. They move every 13 years. So however many homeowners you have right there, I just want you to divide that number by 13. A 13th of them will move this year. A 2,000 person database. That's how many transactions this represents. A 2,000 person database at a 65% home ownership rate, where people move every 13 years, has 100 transactions in it this year. If you have a 10,000 person database, I bet one of you guys on here has a 10,000 or more person database. 10,000, a 65% home ownership rate. I got 6,500 homeowners. They move every 13 years. There's 500 transactions in my 10,000 person database this year. Now, if Ben Kinney, our founder, if any of you guys know Ben, you'll know, this will make sense. If he was in the room right now in the back corner, or he peeked his head right over my shoulder, he'd say, "Hey, Bob, there's two sides on all those transactions, by the way." So my 2,000 person database has 100 transactions and 200 sides in it. So how many did you close last year? If I had a 2,000 person database and I closed 20 deals, that'd be pretty good, by the way. 20 deals out of a 2,000 person database. I closed 20% of the potential business. There were 100 deals that lived in there. I got my hands on 20 of them. We have partnered in the last 3 years at Place with some of the largest teams in the United States, the biggest EXP team, the biggest real team in terms of number of transactions. And I will just tell you guys right now, most teams extract or get their hands on somewhere between 5 and 18% of the business that lives in their database. And 82 to 95% of the business just lays in there and somebody else, they do business with somebody else. Now, you guys, I hope you're doing this math right now, because somebody tell me, is there anybody in the room right now that extracted 50% of the business that lived in their database last year? That is a staggering number, and it's super rare, super duper rare. In fact, we have yet to see a team extract 50%. We see agents that have 2,000 deals where there's 100 transactions possible, and they get their hands on 60 of those 100 transactions. We see that with some regularity at Place. It's very rare for a team with 10,000 to get even more than 20% of the deal. So, you had 20, there was 100 potentially in there, you extracted 20%. You have 80% of the room for growth. Most businesses have a lot of room for growth in their existing database without going out and spending another dollar cutting into your profit margins on leads. There's that math laid out really quickly. 2,000 contacts, 65% homeownership rate, 1,300 homeowners, 7.69 is 1/13th. So I could also just divide 1,300 by 13, or I could multiply it by 0.0769. I get 100 transactions. Okay, how do I get more of that business? About 5 years ago, Ben Kinney came to our team and he said, I want you guys to start studying these databases, like really studying all the data points we have to try to figure out why does a team get 5% and another team gets 18%? Why are there individuals in our world that get 65, 70? I'm going to show you an example of a lady. I think she's like 77% extraction. Like, what leads to this? How do I get more of that business? So I will just tell you right now, all the cool automations, the AI, we've got some AI coming for you guys called Gabby. That's pretty sweet on Brivity. All the auto plans, the emails, the texts, the listing alerts, the market reports, the data we have on website visits, all that stuff is a distant second to this concept right here, database turnover rate. This is 5 years worth of studying data on some of the best teams in real estate, some of the best individual agents in real estate, some of the highest producers. And what we found is this concept of data. Here's what database turnover rate is, you guys. It's really simple. How many people do you have in your database? So that same number that you had before, right? Tasha's got 1,250. I had 2,000. How long will it take you to call them all one time? How long will it take you to call everybody in your database once? That is a number that we've coined as the database turnover rate. So if I had 2,000 and I called 200 this month, it's going to take me 10 months to call them all. If I had 2,000 and I called 1,000 this month, it's going to take me 2 months to call them all. Why does this matter? Buyers and sellers. Last year, sellers talked to one agent. 77% of sellers talked to one agent. Buyers, 73%. 73% of buyers talk to one agent. Let me ask you a question. Michelle Bippis, is it more likely that you're going to earn somebody's business if you showed up in their world once every 10 months or once every 2? Now, if you were showing up once every 10 months on the phone, I don't have any question that you probably, especially if you have something like Brivity or KV Core or Command, you have other things going out to them throughout those 10 months. But guys, I promise you this, as we've studied this data, all those other things matter less than you calling that person. Like we say, Glenn, it's real estate's a, a relationship business. It absolutely is. And the proof of this, we've proved this out in the data. So how many contacts are in your database? How many calls have you logged in the last 30 days? Jacqueline Stewart. My 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 name, we have the same name. I'm Bob Stewart. How long will it take you to call everybody one time? That's our database turnover rate. Like in our world, ladies and gentlemen, we do not spend money on leads. Place teams don't spend any money on leads when our database turnover rate's above a 4. If we can't get 3 phone calls a year to the database we have already, why would we be spending more money to put more people into that database? By the way, if you call somebody 3 times this year, they'll probably talk to you once. It's obvious when you look at this that I'd rather be getting through my database every 2 months than every 10. This lady over the last few years has really become, in my world, like the shining example of what's possible in the hardest real estate market that any of us have seen. Like, unless you've been in since 2008, and I would contend last year was just as hard as 2008. This year is likely going to be just as hard as 2009. But these are some of the hardest years in real estate, are last year and this year. And this is a lady that, despite that, still hit her goals last year. She's still, at this point right now this year, has 12 closed deals, 8 pendings, and she is well on her way to her goal of 60. She does it on the back of spending about 2 hours each day calling her database. She makes 50 dials a day. She does it consistently most days of the month. She makes about 1,100 phone calls into her database. 55 a day is her average. But look at her numbers here. She turns her database over every 1.25. When you think about a 1,400 person database where there's 67 potential deals, of which she was able last year to get 52 of those deals, think back on your math. What would it look like if you did 77% of the business that was available in your database instead of whatever number you did? I'm here to tell you right now, the number one tool you have in your business is really this. But here's the deal with this. Like, if you're being honest, Dawn, all that business came out of her database. Yes, ma'am. I mean, now, her database includes her sphere, her past clients, her leads, obviously. Your number one weapon in real estate is your phone. The data clearly tells us this is true. Okay. The data clearly tells us that our number one weapon is our phone. But here's the problem with our phone, just like the one you have in your hand right now, that half of you are on, if you're being honest with yourself. This thing is designed by the smartest people in the world to distract us from what we should be doing as a real estate agent every day, which is calling our database. Like, when I sit down in the morning, and I hope you have time on your calendar each day to call your database, but when I sit down to do it, if I do it with this, it's highly likely I'm going to get distracted. Why? Because this was designed by really, really, really smart people, way smarter than me, to distract me, right? When I turn this around, I'm like right now on my phone, I have 3 text messages. I've got my news app has pinged in. Slack is all over the place. I've got Facebook and Instagram notifications. eBay is telling me something. OfferUp wants to let me know. Like, then there's the stuff I like doing. I check my stocks or whatever, right? Like, there's a million reasons I don't make the next phone call when I've got this. Brivity has a dialer. How many of, like, for who was telling me earlier they have, Dawn, have you guys unlocked the power of the dialer yet? The dialer is your secret weapon. To me, it's secret weapon number 1 for a database. It allows me to sit down. It scares me. Here's what you do, Dawn. Just put 5 people in there and start slow. You put 5 old random leads, Dawn, where no matter when they answer, you can say the same thing to all of them. Hey, in the past, you guys have been curious about real estate here in the Snohomish County area. Do you still have real estate related plans this year? Boom, right? Just something real simple where the people that you're calling, doesn't matter when they answer, you're going to say the same thing. That's the best way to start to get a feel for the dialer. We have in our place world about 10% of our agents, about 150 to 180 agents every single month make 1,000 dials into their database or more. It's about 50 a day, right? Now some of them do 60 or 70 a day, and they're up at 12 or 1,400 calls into their database each month. But we have 150 make 1,000 dials. Guess how many manually dial to get to that volume? I mean, you can, Scott, it's zero. Zero people manually dial and are able to get to. In fact, there's a few individuals around Brivity that do a high volume of manually dialing. They cap out right about 500 to 600. They never get more. Now that's a lot. Don't get me wrong. That's 25 dials a day where I'm just manually dialing and ignoring all the notifications and getting to the next dial. And Jocelyn, we have pricing like on a wide range depending on how big or small your team is. So it starts down in the couple hundred, and some of the really, really big teams that have 25 agents or more, it goes up around like 1250. Brivity dialer. You can text platform, Jocelyn, and somebody can jump on and run you through all the different pricing and the different levels and how many seats you need and all that fun stuff. Brivity dialer, number one tool, you guys. I promise you, like if you can unleash the power of this, it could transform your business and your life. Like I'm telling you right now. Okay. Second tool we have at our disposal inside of market reports. Every single day, somebody in your database drives into their neighborhood and there's a sign for sale. Or there's a sold, it's been for sale and it's sold. And every day, somebody in your database goes on the internet to figure out what their neighbor's house sold for. And when they do that, Don, what happens is they end up on a lead somewhere else, right? They go to Zillow, they go to Redfin, they go somewhere. They could potentially become a lead if they have to go out to the internet to see what their neighbor's house sold for. So we want to make sure in our world, in our database, that we build a moat around that thing, right? That we make sure the most important, look, for all the emails and the texts and the drip campaigns and the 33 touches, and for all this stuff that we do, the most important thing we could be doing is positioning ourselves as the expert in our database's head when it comes to what's selling in their neighborhood. That's what the market reports do. They show them. I can send them weekly, every 2 weeks, once a month. Here's what's happening in your area. Here's what's for sale around where you live. Here's what's pending right now. And here's what's sold recently. What it's sold for. Like literally, it listed at $495. It's sold for $505. Now, here's the action. Every single person with an email and a physical address is going to get a market report from us. All those old leads, Jocelyn, that I have in my database that I've been carrying around for the last 2 years, right? Market reports. They have an email and a physical, and we have a tool inside of Brivity. You can set these up in bulk, and it goes out. It uses a smart radius to figure out how wide should I go around this property to make sure they get enough details, enough actives, pendings, and solds. It's super easy to get this set up. Don, please tell me that you've gone through and you've run a filter. Here, Don, I'll do it really quick for you. If I was in Brivity, what I'd do is I'd come in here and I'd say, hey, show me everybody that doesn't have one of my market reports right now, but I got their email and I got their address, right? Let's say I ran that. Once that pulls up, I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to select them all, and I'm going to use this bulk setup tool. Bang, I can knock. Now this team doesn't blue. They have 131 all on page action. Let me get a market report for all these people. I'm going to use that smart radius concept. Boom, I hit save and off it goes. I'm just going to set market reports up on 36 of these. It looks like a few of these don't have good addresses. Like some of them might be missing a zip code or something like that. Might be some PO boxes in there. super easy to get market reports set up on all these people in our database. And here's what happens when we do that, by the way. Here's what happens. Look, in your real estate business, what you're really looking for is people who are like, I'm kind of interested in real estate today. And then if we could call and connect with those people, would we be more or less likely to find a deal? Like, I want to be able to come in and be like, who's looking at my market reports? Right? I come right here and say, who was looking at my market reports? Click last viewed. And I can see Kevin Barlow was on it 3 hours ago, Dan 3 hours ago, Marty 4. If I wanted to have some good conversations with people about real estate, I just come in here and I just click right here. Trista, look at this. She looked at it on the 20th and the 9th and a couple days before that. She's even looking off cycle. I call that. Every 2 weeks we send it to her, but sometimes she pulls that thing out in between when we send it and she looks at it again. What's she seeing on there? I don't know. I could open this up right here and I go in and I could see what she was looking at. Brandy's sending her this market report for her property out there in Kaiser, Oregon. Here's what's going on. She can get right in here and see, look, her neighbor's got a house for sale right now. Her neighbor's house is pending at 375. I bet she's coming back to this thing periodically to see if this is going to sell. Because when it sells, what I'll see in here, it'll be like this. And she'll see it was listed at 419, sold at 420. Was listed at 468, sold at 468. Was listed at 380, sold at 380. Pretty strong market right there, right? A lot of people getting what they're asking for their homes. I don't want anybody in my database to have to go somewhere else to figure out what's happening where they live. Okay. My mom is a real estate agent. She uses Brivity. Shocking. I know I forced her, but she calls these her come list me emails. Why? Because she has thousands of people set up on them. It's not uncommon in a given month for somebody to say, hey, Gail, we really appreciate that you've been sending me this for the last year and a half. I know you've called us like 10 times, but we've never answered the phone. But do you think you could come out to our house and tell us how much it's worth? And of course, she could do that. Now, when she does that, she's going to use the CMA tool inside of Brivity to create her CMA. She's going to take out to their house. She could email it to them. I want you to think about CMAs for a second. I don't know how often you guys do a CMA, but most agents do a CMA when they have a listing. And look, if you're a newer agent, let's say you're a new agent, you have a really awesome first year, you do 15 deals. Let's say 10 of those are listings, 5 are buyers. That'd be a pretty good first year. On your 10, to get your 10 listings, let's say you went on 15 listing appointments to land 10 listings. Most agents in that scenario would have done 15 CMAs this year. Like, this is one of the number one skills of a real estate agent. And in a first year, a pretty darn good first year agent ends up using this skill 15 times. So what a few teams in our world have done, because we have this tool in Brivity, because you can create a CMA in, I mean, when you get really good at it, probably 5 to 8 minutes, maybe 10. We have teams in our world that purposely send a CMA to somebody every day. Now, think about that. If they're doing that consistently Monday through Friday throughout the year, they take a couple of weeks off for vacation, there's 240 working days that they could have sent somebody a CMA. How much more practiced would you be at pricing if you sent 240 CMAs in your first year of real estate versus 15? Because you spent 10 or 15 minutes a day practicing your number one skill. CMA a day. Who might I send? I don't know. I might send a CMA today to somebody that was looking at my market reports, right? Almost every day, this team has a candidate in here of somebody I could just decide to send a CMA to. Hey, Jesus, I don't know why you guys were looking at your market report yesterday, but sometimes when people are peeking those out, it's because they're curious about what their home might be worth. So I took some time this morning to create a market analysis for your house. Here it is. Let me know what you think. Our CMAs, by the way, we do this range. You can incorporate this range pricing concept which Kim Logan is exclusively the way we'll do it when we send somebody a CMA without being there to explain it to them. We don't want to put a straight number, 365, because if they think their house is worth more than that, we're already in trouble. So we'll do a range pricing scenario, right? Let's say the CMA came out at 365. We might say 340 to 400. We think your house could price somewhere in that range. We'd love to see it to be able to zero in on what would be the most appropriate price if you were actually thinking about listing it today. CMA a day. That's a tactic to find business for yourself. It's also a really smart tactic to just get to skill up at, I don't know, what's probably one of the top 5 skills you need as a real estate agent. The ability to price properties. Seller lead capture. Somewhere in your world, I hope you have seller lead capture. You know, a home value page. What's your home worth? Right? In our world, 90%. So if you're a Brivity client, you have this home value page on your website, and 90% of people just sit on their hands and hope one day somebody comes to your website and finds this page and fills it out. Because if they do, they might be thinking about selling their house. They might be curious what it's worth because they're thinking about selling. But 90% of our teams, they just sit on their hands. They're like, I don't know, maybe somebody will show up on those pages. About 9% of teams in our world spend money. And we have a team at Brivity that can manage a lead budget for you. And some teams need more leads in their database because they are doing pretty good. And they 9% of teams pay. 1% of teams, 1%, use this page and leverage it to try to get people in their existing database to raise their hand. Now, think about this. I've looked at, guys, I've been in thousands of databases. I've been in real estate databases for 20 years. Most of you guys have you have 65% home ownership rate in the area that you service, but I bet you only have about 30% of the leads you have in your database have an address on them, which means you have this delta. There's a bunch of people in your database, leads. They tended to have been buyer leads from over the years, where you got them as a lead because they were on Google or Zillow or Facebook, and they clicked on your ad or whatever as a buyer lead. They live somewhere right now, but you don't know where they live. 1% of our teams will take an email like this, and they will figure out a way to consistently get this sending into the database on the leads that they don't have addresses for. Because if I send this email with a link back to my home value page to somebody in my database, to their email, and they go to my home value page and they fill it out with that same email that I sent it to them at, it's just going to connect that new lead to the existing lead. It'll connect their address. It'll dump a new phone number if they put a new phone number in there. It'll tie that existing lead into the new hand raise that they do, right? Why? Because they are curious what their house is worth. Well, we have a couple teams. They just consistently send this to 50 people a day in their database. Not 1,000 one time and never do it again. They're just consistently sending to 50. 1 or 2% will raise their hand. So every 100 they send, they get 1 or 2 people that are like, I am curious what my house is worth. They pick up another address a day in their database, another person they can get on a market report. Another person in their database doesn't have to go to Zillow or Google to find out what their neighbor's house sold for. Or if we have their address in there, sometimes we'll use this email. Right in the subject line, do you still own 123 Main Street? Hi, Jimmy. If you want to pull your phone out right now, if you shoot that QR code, both of these emails are on a little Google Doc that you can copy. The action item is go send this email to 50 people in your database today and see if you can get somebody already in your database to raise their hand and say, I'm curious what my house is worth. Because that lead, Jacqueline, depending on where you're at, could be a $50 or $100 a lead to get a seller to raise their hand and go, I'm curious what my house is worth. Now, again, we can do lead campaigns at Brivity. In fact, you can run your own lead campaign in the Facebook ad environment out of the back of our Brivity marketer tool. In most markets, we can still get those Facebook leads for $3 to $5 a lead. Super affordable way to generate leads. But Kim Logan, if you're like, I don't want to do all that, can't you guys just get me a steady flow of leads? Yes, we have a team that can do that as well. Buyer leads, seller leads, PPC, Google, Facebook. We can even do retargeting and remarketing, Kim, where we go in and we follow people that have come to your website around and show them houses similar to the properties they were looking at when they were on your website. That's called dynamic property targeting. So somebody was on your website, Kim, in Bellingham, looking at a property at 500,000. We're going to follow them around the internet with properties between 450 and 550 in Bellingham, and just everywhere they go online, your properties are going to show up, and they're going to think, man, Kim spends $1 million on advertising. This lady's following me around the internet with these listings. No, she spends a very targeted amount on them. Reverse prospecting in your database. This is one of, I think, the most underutilized tools in Brivity. Kenneth Hecker, my wife and I bought an investment property last year in we saw it in December. And look, I was on, probably had 2 different apps that I searched on my phone. Both of them had push notifications. I had emails coming from 2 different real estate agents here in Washington, listing alerts, right? One kind of in the southern part of the state and one in the northern part of the state. Now, I've been looking for a number of years. I had not, but I just, when somebody's looking for a house and they don't have to move, sometimes they fall in and out of paying attention, right? They might go a week or 2 without opening any of the listing alerts that you send to them. And then you'll see a flurry where they'll go in, they'll look for houses for a day, and then it'll be another week or 2 where they don't. What reverse prospecting allows me to do is, let's say I have a brand new listing. I can go in and find people in my database, right? I come over here and I got to remember where I'm at here for a second. So I come into listings and Amy sells down in Salem. So let's say her new listing here in Salem was this listing, right? Actually, this is one of her listings. I've got company listing set here. So 290 14th Street is one of her listings. What if I came in here, I pulled these matches up. So these are all people that have looked at properties in Salem in a similar price point to what Amy has her property listed at right now, right? Her property's right here in the middle, somewhere at 365, I think, or something like that. So these are a bunch of what I could do, and I could even come in here and put them in order by when they last, because some of these people were looking a year ago. Some of them were on just, 22 days ago, 17 hours ago. So this is going to be the most recent 50 now, right? Now, look at all these people that are on our website that have looked at a property just like they're listing. I could choose to just send all 50 of these. I'm going to share this listing with one listing, and I'm going to put something up here, right? Great new listing, just hit the market. Would love to schedule a private tour for you. Down here, hi, and it's going to go out individually to every one of these, right? Hi, Howard. Hi, Philip. Hi, Deborah. Hey, I have a brand new listing that I just put on the market. I'm hosting an open house on Saturday. I saved a couple of times on Friday for private tours. Would you like to get in ahead of the rush of people on Saturday and have a 24-hour head start on most of the folks that might be interested in this house? Reverse prospecting, go in. Here's something that, look, it's still kind of the same this year. The inventory is still tight in many of our markets. If we price a home appropriately, Kenneth Hecker, it's going to sell. We don't have to go out and find the buyer. But what our teams understand is this is going to be another challenging year. Last year we did what? 3.9 or 4 million home sales. Normally we do 5.5. We're off a peak of 6.2 million home sales. if we have another year in 24 where there's a 20% reduction in the number of transactions that occur, or maybe a 25% reduction, or God forbid, a 30% reduction, even though we don't need to find the buyer for 290 14th Street in Salem, because if it's priced appropriately, somebody is going to bring us a buyer. Wouldn't it be awesome if we did go find the buyer? A lot of our teams are really focused this year on trying to find our buyers for our own listings. Why? Because there's going to be 20 to 25% less transactions in the market. So if we can find both sides of a few of our own, it behooves us. This is a tool that allows us to come in and do that. Reverse prospecting in your database. The call to action here is send a specific listing to 5 people each day. Back to my story of the investment property that we bought. My agent down in the southern part of Washington, she sent me the listing we ended up buying. And it had come out to me earlier or the day prior in my listing alert. I just hadn't looked at it, right? There was a lot of ways I could have seen it. I didn't. But she sent me an individualized email that said, hey, Bob, take a look at this one. I think you might like this one. And because she didn't normally do that, it was a break from kind of the routine, which was these listing alerts showing up. I was like, oh, wait, Gail just sent me something. What is this? By the way, something I did, let me go back into Amy's database here really quick. And you notice she only has 1,834 leads up here. So when I'm in here looking to see, how many people have been on her website recently, and I'm going to show you that here really fast. How many people have been on Amy's website recently? So I just come in here and click last visit. You don't have to have a 10,000 person database to have opportunities in your database, have hand raisers every single day. If we use the tools, here's Doug and Gloria. They were raising their hand 23 minutes ago, an hour ago, 3 hours ago. You'll notice all these people have a listing alert driving them back to the website. I think it was Lisa. I'd looked at Lisa earlier. Watch this. This lady's really aggressively looking at properties in here. I think she's got a whole bunch of favorites. Yeah. Look at this property back here on a couple days ago. She looked at this thing 7 times. This is exactly what it looked like when my wife and I bought our investment property. I looked at it one day, a couple of days later, I came back. I'm like, we should go see that this weekend. My wife was looking at it the day before we went out to look at it. This is a property that I'd use that search listings functionality. I'd feed it right back to her. I'd say, hey, Becky, let's go look at this place. Or Lisa, I guess was her name, right? Oh, by the way, our app, if somebody looks at a property more than 3 times or more, the app will send you a notification right away. Hey, you should call them about this property. They just looked at it 3 times. Got to make sure when people are warming up, raising their hand, taking action in the database, that we're meeting them with an email 12 minutes ago. Good job, Ashley. I think she texted them right before that, too. I was in here earlier and I saw a text had gone out from her. Reverse prospecting, great tool inside of your database, assuming you have that functionality. Quickly leads. I don't know what you guys do on your signs today, but I want you to do everything you can to capture leads when people walk or drive by your listing. So we use a text-based mobile lead strategy. It's part of the Brivity platform. It comes with your Brivity platform. You get a short code. Maybe your short code's Ben Kinney, although you probably wouldn't use that one. That's not your name, Steve Arnold. Yours might be Steve. Text Steve to 59559. When somebody does that, I get their cell phone. They get all the information about the listing based on the GPS location of where they're standing. I can remember the first time Bill Gates signed up on my website. Don, you're up here in Marysville. The first real estate company we had was based in Bellevue, Washington. I could have thrown a rock to Microsoft's campus. I literally remember the first time Bill Gates, right? Obviously it wasn't Bill Gates, but he signed up on our website. I was so excited. I was young and stupid. I ran into my partner's office. I'm like, dude, Bill Gates just signed up on our website. We're going to be rich. And he's like, you fool. Like, we're going to get lots of fake leads over the year. Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, FU, Bill Gates, right? I don't know who you guys get in some of the different parts of the country. Everybody's got, somebody in their area that people fake when they say. Never once hundreds of thousands of leads have we had a fake quickly lead? If somebody texts it, we get their cell phone number 100% of the time. There's a really awesome strategy if you guys do any kind of community events. You do the farmer's market, or you do a home show or a bridal show. We have a really awesome strategy that we can share with any of our Brivity folks around generating leads when you're kind of out in public like that. Or any kind of physical marketing you do. If you do postcards, or you work with a builder and you get to put a big sign up in front of their subdivision for the 6 months that they're building those houses. Like, any physical marketing can be enhanced with the text call to action. And we've got some really, really smart strategies around that we can help you with. The call to action here is have a way for your signs to work for you that's not flyers. Smart transaction auto plans. Every year on the seller side, about 36% of sellers pick their agent based on a referral from a friend, family, colleague, or coworker. So that means every time you do a transaction, the satisfaction of your past client plays a role in will you be referred and have access to a third of the business that happens because of referrals. Our transactions allow you to automate a ton of things, but also to communicate to your buyers and sellers everything that you're doing to get that transaction, to get an offer, to get it through the finish line. These are really powerful, and they allow you to communicate to your clients what's going on, right? When your clients feel fully informed about what you're doing, they don't think you just came out and stuck a sign in the yard and then left. When they know what's happening along the way, they're much happier at the end of the transaction. They're much more likely to tell you got to work with Michelle Bebis. She kept us updated every single step of the way. It's the 5th time we bought and sold a house. Nobody was more communicative than Michelle. By the way, our transaction management inside of Brivity, I believe, is like second to none. It was the genesis of why we first built software. Ben Kinney wanted to have a way in his business to standardize all the promises you make when you go out to a seller, right? We go out to a seller, we sit down in their kitchen, we make all these promises. He needed to have a way to come home and make sure that seller A, seller B, seller C all got the same experience, right? He wanted to create consistency in his experience so that he could tap into the third of the business that happens because of a referral. Brivity Marketer. I'm going to take you in really quick, and I wasn't actually planning to do this, but since I already took us into the app or into Brivity here, I'm going to go into Brivity Marketer really fast, and I'm going to show you a couple of things in here. There's one thing that you won't necessarily have access to. It's kind of a place exclusive, but here's everything you can do inside of Brivity Marketer. You can do direct mail marketing campaigns. You can do all your print media pieces, open house flyers, open house sign-in sheets. Maybe I got an event coming up I want to do a flyer for. Door hangers if I was going to go out and knock a neighborhood before my open house. I can run digital ads from the back of here. Really easy to run the digital ads. I can create social media collateral. Watch how easy it is for me to create an open house flyer. I come in here, I pick a template. I'm like, ooh, I like this one. Let's make this one the deal. I just go find a listing, right? I can pull up any listing in the MLS in here because they're all in here. It's hooked to the MLS. I just hit create print media. Boom. I've got a flyer. Now, you'll see the brand coloring on this is in black because this team's kind of brand color is black. You can pick your own brand color. Your brand color could be your light blue because that's your color. Now, Tamara doesn't watch this. Her picture's broke. Okay, fine. She's not even doing this open house. Guess who's doing the open house? Teresa. So let's come over here and make Teresa the agent on this. Boom. We'll have Teresa be the agent. And when I do that, it just swaps all the information out. Now Teresa's in here. That's her contact info. That's her phone number. If I didn't want 2 pictures of the front of the house, no big deal. Just hop right in here, grab a couple of the other MLS photos. Which MLS photo do I? Ooh, look at that's a pretty. Oh, they've already got the kitchen down there. Let's get us one of living room. Look at that. I'm gonna grab this. I'm just gonna drag it right over here, set it in there. Bang, done. I don't need 2 kitchen photos. Let's go do a bedroom photo, right? Oh, there's a bedroom. Drag it in. Done. Ready. Save this thing. Could download it. Easy. Easy peasy. Super. All the MLS data is back here. No more Canva, right? Consistent, beautiful designs. Our designers kick out new designs every single week for postcards, for print media, for social media. There's hundreds, I mean, thousands now of social media templates in here for you to use. Really, really powerful stuff. We want your marketing to be beautiful. We want people to come across it to say, oh my gosh, I need that guy to list my house. Look at the amazing job he's doing listing their house. Brivity marketer, super cool stuff. Listen, here's the deal. If you just sat through the last 50 minutes with me and you don't have Brivity, you should probably take a look. Take a look. Go talk to our team. Ask the questions. Ask about pricing. Ask about some feature. Look, there's 100 other features I didn't show you guys here today. Ask do we have that thing that you love, Jacqueline, about KV Core? Do we have that thing that I gotta have from my Boomtown? If you're exploring Brivity, we got a lot of cool tools here. And I think maybe the best thing about, I don't know, one of the best things about, we are still owned by a guy, Ben Kinney, and Chris Suarez, 2 guys, right? Who practice real estate every day. We build this platform based on the needs of real estate agents today, right? We're not running on tech from 5 years ago. We're not making decisions on having sold real estate a lifetime ago. We're in the trenches with you guys every day, and we're building tools to help you guys be more efficient and ultimately to help you, Kim Logan, get your hands on more of the deals that are living in your database. I'm telling you guys, those numbers we did up front, those people are buying or selling whether they're doing it with you or not. So deploy some of these tools today. Go find yourself a couple more deals here this month. Kenneth Hecker, Glenn, Don, I appreciate you guys joining me. Have an awesome afternoon. And if you're a Brivity client already, reach out to me anytime. Would love to hear from you. Don Hecker, you guys have a great afternoon. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye, everybody.